Let's go to Genesis chapter 7, and take it a step further. We see in the Bible that there are a few meats that God says we shouldn't eat because they're full of poison, parasites, and disease will end up killing us. In the Bible, these are known as unclean meats. You might say, well, wasn't that Moses' law we studied that has done away with? And the answer is no. Genesis 7 was years before Moses, years before any Jew, and you're going to see why as we study this out now. Genesis chapter 7, let's start with verse 1. And the Lord said to Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee I have seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast you shall take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. So there was a distinction between the clean and the unclean. There were 7 clean ones to procreate, and they could sacrifice them and eat them as food after the flood until the plants grew back. The unclean ones, God says, I don't want you eating the unclean animals. There's only going to be 2 to continue the species. God established this principle, and when God has an eternal principle, it carries to both Old and New Testament. That's why when you go to 1 Corinthians, Paul said, what you eat and drink matters to God. So how do you make a distinction between the clean and unclean? Let's go to Leviticus 11. And God tells us he's created some living rubbish or garbage cans. Thank God he did. Otherwise, we'd have a lot of stinking, putrefying refuse all over the world. But God has a cure for that. Leviticus 11, let's start with verse 1. And the Lord spake to Moses and Aaron, said to them, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which you shall eat among all the beasts that are in the earth. Whatsoever parts the hoof and is cloven-footed and chews the cud among the beasts, that's what you shall eat. That is very simple, folks. Cloven-hooded, and it chews the cud. So that includes the cow, the deer, the lamb, the moose, the goat. These are clean meats that you can eat. Leviticus 11:4, Nevertheless, these you shall not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he chews the cud, but divides not the hoof. He is unclean to you. Folks, the bad news is you've got to go home right now and clean all the camel burgers out of your refrigerator and freezer because the camel is unclean. All right, so get rid of them. Hold on to your seats, everyone. Fasten your seatbelts. Look at verse 11. And the swine, though he divides the hoof and be cloven-footed, yet he chews not the cud, he is unclean to you. Of their flesh you shall not eat, of their carcass you shall not even touch it. They are unclean to you. Now this is one that probably affects us, for pork is found in ham, bacon, sausage. The pig eats anything, folks. Now I'm about to gross you out for the next few minutes, and I apologize ahead of time for offending your fine sensibilities, but I think it's important for us to understand this. So let me give you an example. I had a brother who lived in Florida, still have a brother who used to live in Florida, and he raised pigs for food. And he said they had an outhouse that emptied into the pig lot, and they never had to clean it out because the pigs ate everything that came out of that outhouse. The way he explained it to me is that they would feed them this way for a year and a half and then kill the pig and eat the pig. Now, folks, that is gross, right? An article in Reader's Digest titled, Must Our Pork Remain Unsafe, puts it this way, and I quote, A single serving of infected pork can kill you, cripple you, send you to a lifetime of aches and pains for the unique disease called trichinosis. There is no cure with no drug to stop the worms. They spread throughout the muscular tissue of your entire system. One of 2 things then happens depending on the intensity of your infection. Either death ensues or a successful effort is made by nature to throw an enclosure or cyst around each of the teeming parasites, which then become dormant, although they remain alive in your system for years. Don't blame your doctor. All the best the doctor can do is conserve the patient's strength and try to relieve the painful local symptoms as they appear. And what those local symptoms are, the layman had better not worry about. Trichinosis can simulate almost any malady. Physicians have confused it with 50 other ailments, ranging from typhoid fever to acute alcoholism. The pain in your arm or leg may be arthritis or rheumatism, but maybe it's trichinosis. That pain in your neck may mean a gallbladder involvement, but maybe it's trichinosis. Autopsy results show that 1 out of 6 Americans carries trichina worms in their muscles. Now, if it's 1 in 6 Americans, how many New Zealanders do you think it is? Probably the same, right? Sorry, I couldn't find the stats for New Zealand, but probably the same. The Department of Agriculture recently reviewed 24 cases of trichinosis, and 22 of them had come directly from pork, and they found that 1 out of every 5 pork products sold in the store today has live trichina worms in them. So go to the supermarket this afternoon or tomorrow, go into the meat aisle and count 5 pork products, and you tell me which one doesn't have the trichina in it so you can take it home and feast on those worms. Well, none of you know